So who will be the best quarterbacks in college football in 2025? Myself, Coach Smook from the Coach Smook Network, Cody Sprague, and Eric Cooper from Unfair Sports are going to get into it right now on Hall of Fame College Football. And you can vote for your top 5 quarterbacks in college football in 2025 just by logging in right there with the QR code on the right of your screen, or you can just hit that link in the description. Let's get after it. For my Sooners, let's talk about John Mateer, man. This guy was the number one transfer portal quarterback up until the Beck went in it, according to most everybody. He had over 40 touchdowns. Now, he did play in the Mountain West system, but Coop, everything that I see from this guy screams that he's very, very good. He can run, he can throw, he's got that moxie to him. Seems like he may be a hell of a player. Is he in the top 5 for you?
Yeah, I think he is until he isn't. I mean, he's got to play himself out of that. Everybody wants to point out where he played last year. Looking at what the quarterbacks on Oklahoma were able to do against teams like Houston and Temple and Tulane wasn't much. Even Temple, where Jackson Arnold in that offense threw up, 50 points. Most of that was because the defense getting the ball turned over in plus territory 6 times. And then, we were, 0 for 11 or 0 for 12 on first downs, in that game. And so if you say Mateer did it against nothing, well, let's just be honest with ourselves. Like, our quarterbacks last year weren't doing it against nothing. Even Maine, it took just an absolute busted play for, the most explosive passing play of the season from Oklahoma with Jackson rolling out and just tossing it deep to J.J. Hester. So I think it starts with Arbuckle. Arbuckle has the capability of changing the offense based on the quarterback and changing the offense based off of what you're wanting to do. I'm going to harken back to Lincoln Riley coming to Oklahoma, being more of an air raid guy, and then walking in and Stoops going, we're going to run the ball. See that fellow over there? His name's Joseph Mixon, and that fella's name's Samaje Perine. Those guys are really good. We're going to utilize those guys. We're going to use the tight end, and we're going to get that in a play too, and we've got a good crop of wide receivers. Well, then you are consistently dictating with, on offense, what you're capable of doing. So Mateer is going to be able to come in. He's going to have an offensive line that still needs to show us how good they can be. I think that with the transfer portal and with some of the younger kids and some of the development that happened last year, it's going to be a better product right there. You brought in a couple of wide receivers. You get a couple guys back from injury. And he's going to have more explosive athletes around him. So John Mateer doesn't have to go out and be the hero ball player. He doesn't have to go out and be the guy who is expected to throw up 400 yards passing or 6 touchdowns in a game or anything like that. He can go out and he can just make the throws that are there for him. We saw so much film, whether it was Michael Hawkins or Jackson Arnold. They had pockets, they had guys running open, and they just didn't see him. And I think that's where Mateer is going to bring, familiarity with the offensive system. He's going to have that experience, and he has that moxie. Like, you've already heard it. Now, again, Underwear Olympics, everybody's measuring each other, seeing how bigger, faster, stronger they got over the past couple weeks, and he's throwing on air, but he's walked into the building already, and he's already taken the leadership role. And as a quarterback, that's something that you got to do. You got to be able to have that. And so I think Mateer is going to have that opportunity to come in. He gets a good test, week 2 with Michigan coming into town. Michigan is going to lose a lot on defense, but from the optic standpoint and from the momentum standpoint, you let Michigan come to town. If you're able to go out and beat them, and Michigan's offense was about the same as Oklahoma's offense last year, and so that's not a daunting task on the defensive side.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah. How does John Mateer go through progression of his role here at Oklahoma, and can, by the time that you hit Texas in that middle of the season, I believe that Oklahoma's 8 of their last 10 games are against ranked opponents. So I mean, Oklahoma, again, not anything, no favors. And Professor, you're the only one in here that I can say this to, but you know what it's like, with the strength of schedule situation. Like Florida had, a pretty daunting task last year, and again this year. Mateer's going to have weapons. He's going to have assets around him. Can he go from a guy who was the heart and soul of the entire team, to just being the heart and soul of the offense here at Oklahoma? And so that's where I think that Mateer is going to have the weapons. He's going to have the capabilities to get out there and to do some really, really good things. And the bar's low. And so we as fans are going to be very, very okay if he just comes out and completes the passes that he's supposed to, hit guys that he's supposed to, not throw a fastball on a 5-yard slant route. How do you put the ball in place? And I think that touch and that capability to do that is going to separate him. Also, as the offensive line continues to gel, dude was sacked 31 times last year. So he's used to playing behind a little bit of a leaking dam at offensive line. So he's got the mobility, he's got the capabilities to do it. My one concern is getting hit by dudes at Stanford is different from getting hit by dudes in Michigan and Alabama and Auburn. And so how does that work? Because we saw it with Jalen Milroe. When Jalen Milroe and Alabama came to Norman, the tone got set pretty early. He takes one of the design draws, goes right up into the line, and Danny Stutzman sticks him before he can get any momentum. And all of a sudden, that became like, let me think about that before I do that again. And you saw him become more of a passer. And that's where I think
one-dimensional.
It's going to be a very, very big deal for Oklahoma this year is how can he continue to run the ball, and can he stay healthy? Because I like Hawkins, but Mateer is here for a reason.
Go ahead. I was just going to say what I was going to say about that is I like Mateer a lot too. But the beauty of that is I think he can go out there and be who he is, because you do have a kid that 8 months from now, he should be a lot better in a system with a quarterback coach and being able to go out there and learn from these guys as well. So if you get into a situation where you get this guy hurt, I think that Michael Hawkins is absolutely capable of coming in and filling in nicely there. I still believe that he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be in New York for the Heisman before this is all over with. I believe he is. So he can throw it, he can run it. But I love John Mateer. I think what we're seeing out of him and what we've seen out of him, I've watched 2 full seasons now of just Arbuckle's offense. I love what they do. I feel like, Bevo's bodyguard asked in there, who the hell is he going to throw to himself? They've got some good receivers that are coming in the portal too, and guys that have some production. Go ahead there, Spook.
I was going to say, I love when people say that, because there's a name that I don't know if you all have followed him, but go look at Keontez Lewis's film. Please go look at Keontez.
He has already testing what they expected. His testing has eclipsed that. So Keontez Lewis, I am with you 100%. If you don't know that name, get familiar.
Get to know it. He will be what Ohio State lost in J-Mo when we got him from Ohio State. That's what Keontez Lewis will be for Oklahoma's offense. That put him at the Z, put him at the slot, give him a side of the field, and let him stretch let him stretch the defense. Let him make the safeties get in conflict. Let him expose one-on-ones. That's what he's going to do. And the fact is deceptive top end speed. That's exactly what I believe Oklahoma and just health issues. So Mateer coming into that type of situation with a system, like you said, he's familiar with, it puts him right there in the mix. Washington State just doesn't run a basic air raid type scheme. This is something he's going to be asked to do less at Oklahoma, and I think that favors him. And also, you worry about your offensive line maybe at Oklahoma a little bit in a few spots, but it helps the offensive line come along where you got an experienced quarterback coming into a system he's familiar with.
Yes.
I think a lot of people have talked about that. Go ahead, Professor. But I was saying a lot of people have talked about when you got a guy that comes in, he already knows everything that he's doing. He's to me, people have made this comparison to Baker. I'm not going there, but just dripping that confidence of being able to come in and know what he's doing it almost boosts the rest of the offense to know, hey, we got a guy. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I saw last year with both OU quarterbacks is they would run themselves right into pressure, and that is a thing that high schoolers get away with, and when you get to the college level, you don't. And it showed in a lot of games for me that they just weren't comfortable sitting in a college football pocket. It's different, right? It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have guys at your feet, and you got to step up and make throws. And I like that is the one thing with Mateer. I think that you are getting a leaps and bounds. And I'm not dogging on Hawkins or Arnold. I think it's one, they were young, they didn't have a lot of playing time, both of them, and that's what happened.
Situation too.
Yeah, these kids like to roll out to their left and right, and then they don't realize that the guy coming off the edge is 270 pounds and runs a 4.445. You know what I mean? They just don't. They don't realize it. They're not understanding to just all you gotta do is move, step up, just step up, make your throw, step up, make your throw. And I think the offensive production, you're going to probably get 14 more points a game just off Mateer not getting sacked like that, even when the offensive line is bad. Right? You look at a guy in Mertz. Nobody gives Billy Napier any credit for what he did with Mertz. Nobody wanted Mertz. Right? He was a decent, workable quarterback.
He looked really good that second.
Yeah. And it's like guys, it's not rocket science. It's just developing your pocket presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
My one biggest question for OU though, are they going to get this running back rotation right? Because at times it felt like what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Well, I would say this, and I've said this a lot, is
please,
when you walk into a house that has just been destroyed, you walk in, you look, and there's multiple rooms, and you're like, where do I start? Like, where do I start making this good? And I think that with the offensive line, you never know who is in front of you. There's so many injuries with that situation last year. As a quarterback, you learn how to not trust that pocket. You learn how to not, feel comfortable because you can drop back and it can be clean. And you're like, what's going on here? And then you drop back and there's 3 guys in your lap. And then with running backs, same situation is you have a Gavin Sawchuk who has continually just dealt with injuries. You saw Javonte Barnes, and he was just like, I'm just taking the ball and I'm just running. It's just when I get the ball, I'm running to a point. Whoever the hell's in front of me, I don't care. There's that. You had Taylor Tatum, who was a freshman, and it seems like every few snaps he was going to put the ball on the ground. And you had X-Rob, who came in at the end of the season and really showed out. So I think you've got the assets and the tools there. Oklahoma fans are not happy with DeMarco Murray and how he's done the running back rotations for quite a long time. And it's been not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years. I mean, it's several years. And so I think that with the quarterback being, a steady piece, with the offensive coordinator being a steady piece and more reliable assets, best ability is availability, right? Doesn't matter how good Ryan Williams is. If he's on the injury list, he ain't helping you.
Yeah.
And so you get all those things as of right now taken care of. The injuries are pretty good. I think that running back capabilities, are going to hit a next level because the talent's there. It's absolutely there. But can DeMarco Murray really find somebody, who is going to go out there and be that bell cow running back? And I think a lot of that also has to do is just the relationship between Ben Arbuckle and DeMarco Murray, because Seth Luttrell, before he was fired, the story started coming out before then, but he just rubbed everybody from Emmett Jones, the wide receiver coach, to DeMarco, to Joe John Finley, to Bill Bedenbaugh. He just rubbed everybody the wrong way. And so that thing wasn't really syncing up and working well. And so
it was real bad.
My hope here is that the running backs also realize that, there's more capabilities for dynamic offensive play calling, and they're going to get their opportunities. Hold on to the damn ball and, just keep yourself doing what you're supposed to be doing in the recovery room.
Right. I think a lot of quarterback situations are set up to have an exciting college football season next year. Especially with the new seeing this first year of the college football playoff play out, the 12-team extension. I think the quarterback usage is going to be so different next year. You're going to see a lot more teams pushing to get QB2 out there. I guarantee you, we're going to see a good variety of players throwing the ball. And I'm talking about statistically, there was a time where you would have, 80% of your passing stats going to one quarterback. Well, I see that number dropping. I see it going down to this 65, 70% because you're going to need to have flexibility in these positions, man. And you getting into this space where a non-conference game against Alabama versus, let's say, Georgia Tech, that game is a game that you would love to use for your sophomore redshirt freshman QB2 to go in and, hey, take the helm because QB1 is beat up. Texas did it, and it benefited them for a certain amount of time. They didn't have to rush Ewers back out there, and he came back out. And a lot of people may not want to agree, but I think Ewers played better after his injury. I think he got time to sit back, get fully healthy, and it became one of those things for him.
Well, and oh, my bad.
Go ahead, Pro.
You saw it a lot too with Florida, right? Everybody was dinging Billy Napier with run that 2 quarterback system, but I mean, I don't know if Lagway has the year he has if he didn't get it a full game against Samford. I don't know if he play, if he doesn't play some of those games. I mean, you're talking a kid that had an immense number of number 1 reps with the number 1 guys during practice. They were splitting them 50-50, and on top of that, got some real-time gameplay. Was it great all the time? No. Did it create a quarterback controversy? Yeah, a little bit, but you know what? You're making $11-12 million. Who cares? Turn the Twitter off. You're running the ship.
That's listen, man. We did the interview with OU's 26 quarterback commit Jaden O'Neal last night.
Great job, by the way. Loved that.
Thank you. If you guys, I mean, that's a kid that you want running your program and being the face of your program. But one of the things he said is he quoted Cam Ward, and he said, "Put the phone down. Turn the phone upside down. Forget about it, because this college football now is more like the NFL than it's ever been before." I wondered how would coaches handle this first year of having some ability to lose a game, lose 2 games. You see kind of where the teams came out of, this year as far as seeding goes. And so I agree with you guys. Like it is an absolute. This is where you need to empty the bench. You need to get more players out. You need to get more guys doing stuff, even if it means a potential loss. That's okay. Like going undefeated is not necessary and may be detrimental to you.
Look at Oregon
in this season. Yeah, I mean,
right. If they don't fix that part, it is detrimental. Definitely.
I'm going to say this: the schools kind of did this to themselves when fans, regular fans like us, started donating to a collective, made us feel like, hey, we're a part of that program. We're spending our hard-earned money. We want to see results, and if we don't like it, we're going to tell you on Twitter. And so I think it's ravaged the fan base. It's put it to another level. And there are a lot of people just consuming a lot more content with recruiting. I mean, there's guys with recruiting and everything else. They're watching every little thing that the program does. 5-10 years ago, there was only a couple guys like that. Now you got hundreds, maybe thousands. So the schools kind of did it to themselves, but it is what it is.
Yep.
It has around them. Is offensive line solid? Is the play calling suitable for them? Because not every quarterback is going to fit, right? And then you need to look at, do they have weapons around them? Do they have a good run game? Do they have wide receivers? I think that's what we really need to be looking for when we start looking into these quarterbacks.
It's the situation around them, because I was about to, last year I had last year I put together all the returning stats, and Smook, I think I talked to you about this. Is it concerned me with a new system and almost no returning production around Jalen Milroe. I thought Alabama was going to have some issues, and it kind of turned out to be true. And then look at the Sooners. I mean, every single person on that stat sheet disappeared at some point in the season. And so looking at the situation around him, because if you bring a new quarterback in, whether it's homegrown or it's transfer, and he's throwing to guys that, I mean, are going to be majoring in something else after college, that's
tough.
not a recipe for success. And then you also have to have something on the other side too, because I mean, let's talk about it. And Benji, this might ruffle your feathers. The most unfair situation in college football in 2025 is going to be the expectations around Arch Manning. You are basically telling me at this point in time that his first year starting, Arch Manning is expected to win the national championship and the Heisman. Like, that's a story in itself. And if he puts himself out there and does a good job, his name's going to be out there. But
Sure.
I mean, how do you got to also have a defense. So it is a full complementary football package around a young quarterback. You can't put a guy out like Jackson Arnold and say, hey, your offense coordinator sucks. You're going to have 0 wide receivers. And also we're going to filter through about 37 offensive line combinations. Good luck, young fella. Because you get no chance to establish like a base concept for that player. Whereas like Lagway last year, he got a base concept finally set for him at some point, and he was able to go through and do some good things.
Yeah, Benji says, why would it ruffle my feathers? We are back. Of course, they're always back at Texas.
Been back for 20 years now.
They've been back forever. Yeah, since Mac left.
But this is the conversation. Like when we talk about the quarterback position, I made a statement on this in regards to just recruiting as a whole. But I think the game of football and what's being available, what's being put out for these players to develop and I mean at an amateur stage, at an amateur level, you see a different level of gameplay transcending into the college level. What we're seeing on Saturdays at the college level, weeks 1 through 4 is what you're seeing all season at the high school level now. Like this type of athletic production. So when it comes to the quarterback position, I see a lot of names on this. I came straight to On3 to see what their top 25 list would be. And honestly, man, top 10 right now, I can tell you right now, they're about spot on to who I was going to say for my top 5. Like they are about spot on, and I'm talking about guys. There's a few what ifs or who might be's, but then there's a few like provens that I think can really just separate from the pack when you're talking about your top quarterbacks coming into the 2025 season, man. Even with new destinations, I kind of like as much as I hate to admit it, I like the fact that I'm ready. I don't know what Jason got going on, but I'm ready to get into this top 5 conversation because, like I said, man, the quarterback position surprised me this year with a lot of guys that emerged and ended up. I mean, come on, former Bama transfer Eli Holston at Pitt. The way he took off this season, like that was crazy. Nobody saw that coming out of Pitt. Nor did we see Ohio State quarterback. What's his name? It's not Howard, is it? Will Howard, right?
Will Howard.
Nobody saw him turning it on and clicking at the time he did, and you look at him as draft stock. Come on, man.
Look at the cat for Syracuse too. I mean,
just a lot of them just show. Even Penn State quarterback Drew Aller, we was just not getting all the hype that's around him. I don't like it, but you turn on the tape and he does exactly what needs to be done for Penn State. And I think he could turn the corner coming into his second year as a starter, third year, full-time starter, second year, 2025. So it's gonna be a pretty solid conversation today.
Hey, listen, jump into it, man. You guys get started. I was just about to try to pull up some pictures, but we don't have to go there. Look, I think obviously when you start looking at when you look at the SEC, I think you got to talk about Garrett Nussmeier. He's one of the few guys that's going to be coming back. He had a big year. He's got a first round grade. You know that they always have receivers coming out of the freaking swamp in Baton Rouge. They just grow them around there. I swear they got a factory down there. So to me, I think he's got to be one of the top 5 in my opinion. I just wanted to kind of get into what you guys thought on that, but I don't think that there's any doubt he's got to be in your top 5. The way he played this last year and the way that they seem to play offense there down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I really like Garrett. His dad is an offensive guy, offensive coach. He's a coach's son. The kid knows the playbook. My question is actually not on that side of the ball. Is can they put a defense well enough together to win games? Because
No.
probably not. Right? They fired the whole defensive staff last year. Brought in a bunch of guys. It didn't work out this year. I know it takes a while. They went heavy in the transfer portal. But the question is, when LSU was dominant, right? They had a great run game. They had excellent quarterback play, and they had wide receivers all over the place. But they also had a defense that could get you a stop. And I think sometimes with the quarterback position, a lot of people drag quarterbacks because they look at that win loss. Oh, well, this guy's on a uh, 2-10 team. He sucks. The quarterback is always going to get the blame, but I don't think Garrett needs to get most of the blame. There were games that, like the Florida game, um, which the offensive line let them down, and that's another piece. Pieces around them. They gotta retool that offensive line. They're gonna have weapons. We know that. You may not know the names. I may not know the names, but they just build them out there different.
Yeah, and I would say this with LSU. I mean, it's every few years they either put together a freak team that goes through, runs through, and there's nothing that anybody in college football can do about it. They're just destined to win that championship, or they massively underperform based off their expectations. So which way is that going to go this year?
Yeah.
Because yeah, he did. And again, I don't know what deal with the devil he made. I don't know what they shot him up with. And, in that OU game, the guy was getting rocked left and right. He gets hurt. He comes back in, and all of a sudden, he like
Oh
leveled
shit.
up and went crazy. So, I mean, I
You ain't
like that
wrong.
resilience from him.
Sucked.
Love that resilience from him. The A&M game was another game to where he was there was like three different games within the game, and he was able to ride the ebbs and flows. But let's just say like to get to the end, if we're talking like national championship, you also gotta have it for more games than you've ever had to before. And so that health, that there's a little bit of luck that goes with that too, because you lose a top offensive lineman, you lose a top defensive player, you lose somebody in the wide receiver core, and you take a hit as a team. It just is what it is. And can you make it through an SEC, a Big Ten, an ACC schedule, and then go through those playoffs, and then still have the health when it's all time? It comes down to the nut clenching time.
Nuss is overrated, says Bevo's bodyguard. He's always got something to say. Go ahead there, Smook.
Yeah, so I was going to say this. When it comes to Garrett Nussmeier, like you all said, wide receivers, of course, offensive line is going to be a huge thing for him. And I think this year they're going to be solid. I mean, like you all said, they're hitting the portal. It's about a bunch of young guys that's going to develop on their roster. I see him having a lot of tangibles that people don't give him credit for. His ability to extend plays. Hot route check downs, all of that stuff. He's key on it. And to Professor's point, you got to look at it, man. He's the son of an actual offensive mind, somebody that's been in the trenches of the SEC throughout a lot of his coaching career. So this young man's not foreign to this type of pressure. My thing is this, man. I think a lot of it has to do with coaching that's going to keep him from exceeding or going to the next level. I think he's going to be first round regardless of how it turns out, win-loss record. He will put the numbers up. But as far as him being in like those runnings for those big awards and the accolades that you want to go with that whole track record, you might see a little stumbling that because of Kelly. I don't trust the offensive staff. I'm looking at the wide receiver room though. They got Nick Anderson from you all. I think that's going to be huge for for him. Chris Hilton Jr. is another redshirt senior. I think he's coming back for another year. If he's healthy, that's another guy you could look at for Nussmeier to kind of dial in. And they're going to have another tight end emerge. LSU has been secretly just pushing out tight ends. They're going to have a solid running back room. It's just about him keeping it together and staying right there in the midst of it. Just staying there right there in the midst of it. So I look at just the whole overall body of work for Garrett Nussmeier. He's set up to have probably the most quality season. Maybe not the most exciting, but the most quality season, and maintain as one of the top 3 quarterbacks coming out of that next year's class. And I saw that comment about Arch Manning being the best. I don't know about that, man. He's good. He's good, but I'm thinking Josh Heupel and Nico together year 2 is about to get real dangerous. If you look at that wide receiver room at Tennessee, this might be a real coming out party for my young boy Nico at Tennessee this year.
Oh,
I think it could be for sure. I think a lot of that's going to depend on what do they have to throw to. It doesn't seem like they have as much to be able to throw the ball to this year.
You better go check that roster, man.
Who did they bring in? Who did they bring in that you really like?
I love this true freshman. We see the true freshman wide receiver trend going right now. Jeremiah Smith, Brian Williams. There's a true freshman in Travis Smith Jr. 6'4", 205, 4.47, 38-inch vert. The boy has a catch rate. He's really Jeremiah Smith 2.5. I promise y'all, I'm not hyping this up. Turn the film on, say what you want. Look at him. Nico has been waiting for this opportunity. I think Heupel is really about to show us what his offensive mind looks like this year. Having this guy for a second year as a full-time starter.
Mm-hmm. I will say they were a very, very run dominant team, and they lost. Is it Dylan Sampson?
Yeah,
So he's bouncing. Squirrel, who was Nico's comfort, he's bouncing. Their offensive line, they're losing some stuff. So they need to get back and find. I think they got. I want to say the kid's name is Star or something like that. Running back, transferred in from potentially Duke. Don't take that to Vegas. But he a new transfer in. So can they do? Can they depend on that running game? Because if you're a Tennessee fan, you're not super stoked about the offensive output versus what the hype was going into the year. They did get Matthews. He hit the transfer portal for half a minute, and he decided to stick around. I think they have. Is it Thornton? They lost one big guy and one guy's returning. I think Brazel is returning. Guy from Tulane. So yeah, let's see what happens there. Schedule flips a little bit with them. Backs and the road games now, home games. I want to see what Heupel does with that offensive line and that running room, because that's going to determine what they can do. Because when
they're going to have to run the football, I agree.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Sorry.
We both gave a freeze face.
So I think the quarterback play and the offensive production is going to be better this year with Nico. I think that's just, he's going to just more time. He's going to get with the receivers. They're going to figure that out. I think they're going to lose more games this year, though. I think defensively, they're losing some guys, and I don't know. They've at times kind of just won games by the defense. They're losing some pass rushers. They're losing a couple cornerbacks, and truthfully, they're not recruiting elite on the defensive side of the ball right now. They kind of got picked on by some SEC schools. They got some guys. They definitely got some offensive linemen coming in that are very, very, very good as freshmen. But in the SEC, I don't know if I want a true freshman starting on my offensive line. But I think the quarterback play goes up, and they lose a couple of more games, one or two, not a bunch, not a giant, not falling off a cliff. But
I agree with that. I think you see sort of like a Bryce Young first year starter season from Nico with his production. You remember how Bryce Young came in and we won a lot of people don't want to admit it, man. Bryce had J-Mo and Mechie, and we didn't blow teams out that year. Like, we were winning a lot of those games just by pure just talent and a quarterback who just had a crazy understanding being in a system that he was adept to for 2 years. Nico's coming into this system. This basically his third year under Heupel. This is about they had to run with Sampson to see Nico develop properly. And towards the end of the season, man, they played Ohio State. We saw Ohio State just turn on a switch in the playoffs, like going into the playoffs. They just turned it on. Nico's performance against Ohio State was nowhere near telltale to what I think he's going to be able to come into next season with. And like you said, I think because of that, his arm talent is going to be on display. It might result in a few more losses because of where they're playing at, but his talent and what he's going to produce is going to be a lot higher and a lot better than what people are going to give him credit for because of the win loss. And when I look at quarterback as far as skill set, I don't necessarily put the win loss factor in there. I look at what they did in that win loss factor. You got a quarterback that's going, 310 for 2 touchdowns, 21 of 40 completions, 7 drops. That's not on the quarterback. 28 or 40 is a different game. If your wide receivers catch it, it's not on the quarterback every time. So I think Nico's going to be right up there. So I got Garrett right there, like you all said, and Nico is right there behind him for me. I just feel like this is the year it clicks with him and that staff.
Real quick, thank you, Bishop Frank. 3 gifted memberships to Hall of Fame College Football. One of them went to the 918. One of them went to KT from the AAA fam, and one went to Don McCloy as well. All AAA, I believe, right? All members of the fam. So, hey, appreciate that.
I had a glitch on my side. You don't have to repeat it.
No, KT, Don McCloy.
Nah. Thank you. Thank you all for your contributions. Hey, Bishop, thank you for gifting those memberships to my bro, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate that a lot too. All right, bro.
It's not Friday. I can't act up today.
You can act up. You know how it is on this show. We act up. This is kind of how we roll.
Man, keep it going, man.
I'm gonna go ahead and for my Sooners, let's talk about John Mateer, man. This guy was the number one transfer portal quarterback up until that Beck went in it, according to most everybody. He had over 40 touchdowns. Now he did play in the Mountain West system, but Coop, everything that I've seen from this guy screams that he's very, very good. He can run, he can throw, he's got that moxie to him. Seems like he may be a hell of a player. Is he in the top 5 for you?
Yeah, I think he is, until he isn't. I mean, he's got to play himself out of that. Everybody wants to point out where he played last year. Looking at what the quarterbacks on Oklahoma were able to do against teams like Houston and Temple and Tulane wasn't much. Even Temple, where Jackson Arnold in that offense threw up, 50 points. Most of that was because the defense getting the ball turned over in plus territory 6 times. And then, we were, 0 for 11 or 0 for 12 on first downs, in that game. And so if you say Mateer did it against nothing, well, let's just be honest with ourselves. Like, our quarterbacks last year weren't doing it against nothing. Even Maine, it took just an absolute busted play for, the most explosive passing play of the season from Oklahoma, with Jackson rolling out and just tossing it deep to J.J. Hester. So I think it starts with Arbuckle. Arbuckle has the capability of changing the offense based on the quarterback and changing the offense based off of what you're wanting to do. I'm going to harken back to Lincoln Riley coming to Oklahoma, being more of an air raid guy, and then walking in and Stoops going, we're going to run the ball. See that fellow over there? His name's Joseph Mixon, and that fella's name's Samaje Perine. Those guys are really good. We're going to utilize those guys. We're going to use the tight end, and we're going to get that into play too. And we've got a good crop of wide receivers. Well, then you are consistently dictating with, on offense, what you're capable of doing. So Mateer is going to be able to come in. He's going to have an offensive line that still needs to show us how good they can be. I think that with the transfer portal and with some of the younger kids and some of the development that happened last year, it's going to be a better product right there. You brought in a couple of wide receivers. You get a couple guys back from injury. And he's going to have more explosive athletes around him. So John Mateer doesn't have to go out and be the hero ball player. He doesn't have to go out and be the guy who is expected to throw up 400 yards passing or 6 touchdowns in a game or anything like that. He can go out and he can just make the throws that are there for him. We saw so much film, whether it was Michael Hawkins or Jackson Arnold. They had pockets, they had guys running open, and they just didn't see him. And I think that's where Mateer is going to bring, familiarity with the offensive system. He's going to have that experience, and he has that moxie. Like, you've already heard it. Now, again, underwear Olympics, everybody's measuring each other, seeing how bigger, faster, stronger they got over the past couple weeks, and he's throwing on air. But he's walked into the building already, and he's already taken the leadership role. And as a quarterback, that's something that you got to do. You got to be able to have that. And so I think Mateer is going to have that opportunity to come in. He gets a good test, week 2 with Michigan coming into town. Michigan is going to lose a lot on defense, but from the optic standpoint and from the momentum standpoint, you let Michigan come to town. If you're able to go out and beat them, and Michigan's offense was about the same as Oklahoma's offense last year, and so that's not a daunting task on the defensive side.
It's not a good thing.
How does John Mateer go through progression of his role here at Oklahoma, and can, by the time that you hit Texas in that middle of the season, I believe that Oklahoma's 8 of their last 10 games are against ranked opponents. So I mean, Oklahoma, again, not anything, no favors. And Professor, you're the only one in here that I can say this to, but you know what it's like, with the strength of schedule situation. Like, Florida had, a pretty daunting task last year, and again this year. Mateer's going to have weapons. He's going to have assets around him. Can he go from a guy who was the heart and soul of the entire team, to just being the heart and soul of the offense here at Oklahoma? And so that's where I think that Mateer is going to have the weapons. He's going to have the capabilities to get out there and to do some really, really good things. And the bar's low. And so we as fans are going to be very, very okay if he just comes out and completes the passes that he's supposed to, hit guys that he's supposed to, not throw a fastball on a 5-yard slant route. How do you put the ball in place? And I think that touch and that capability to do that is going to separate him. Also, as the offensive line continues to gel, dude was sacked 31 times last year. So he's used to playing behind a little bit of a leaking dam at offensive line. So he's got the mobility, he's got the capabilities to do it. My one concern is getting hit by dudes at Stanford is different from getting hit by dudes in Michigan and Alabama and Auburn. And so how does that work? Because we saw it with Jalen Milroe. When Jalen Milroe and Alabama came to Norman, the tone got set pretty early. He takes one of the design draws, goes right up into the line, and Danny Stutzman sticks him before he can get any momentum. And all of a sudden, that became like, let me think about that before I do that again. And you saw him become more of a passer. And that's where I think
one-dimensional.
It's going to be a very, very big deal for Oklahoma this year is how can he continue to run the ball, and can he stay healthy? Because I like Hawkins, but Mateer is here for a reason.
Go ahead. I was just going to say what I was going to say about that is I like Mateer a lot too. But the beauty of that is I think he can go out there and be who he is, because you do have a kid 8 months from now, he should be a lot better in a system with a quarterback coach and being able to go out there and learn from these guys as well. So if you get into a situation where you get this guy hurt, I think that Michael Hawkins is absolutely capable of coming in and filling in nicely there. I still believe that he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be in New York for the Heisman before this is all over with. I believe he is. So he can throw it, he can run it. But I love John Mateer. I think what we're seeing out of him and what we've seen out of him, I've watched 2 full seasons now of just Arbuckle's offense. I love what they do. I feel like, Bevo's bodyguard asked in there, who the hell is he going to throw to himself? They've got some good receivers that are coming in the portal too, and guys that have some production. Go ahead there, Spook.
I was going to say, I love when people say that, because there's a name that I don't know if you all have followed him, but go look at Keontez Lewis's film. Please go look at Keontez.
He has already testing what they expected. His testing has eclipsed that. So Keontez Lewis, I'm with you 100%. If you don't know that name, get
to know it. He will be what Ohio State lost in J-Mo when we got him from Ohio State. That's what Keontae Lewis will be for Oklahoma's offense. That put him at the Z, put him at the slot, give him a side of the field, and let him stretch let him stretch the defense. Let him make the safeties get in conflict. Let him expose one-on-ones. That's what he's going to do. And the fact is deceptive top end speed. That's exactly what I believe Oklahoma and just health issues. So Mateer coming into that type of situation with a system, like you said, he's familiar with, it puts him right there in the mix. Washington State just doesn't run a basic air raid type scheme. This is something he's going to be asked to do less at Oklahoma, and I think that favors him. And also, you worry about your offensive line maybe at Oklahoma a little bit in a few spots, but it helps the offensive line come along where you got an experienced quarterback coming into a system he's familiar with.
Yes.
I think a lot of people have talked about that. Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, more so just kind of going over the list. I was jumping on your boy Bevo, man. What's up, King Family React said, welcome back. I was trying to figure out what his angle was with this not believing in Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, of all the quarterbacks, you take away the media agenda and propaganda and the hype, you look at Garrett Nussmeier and the body of work, and he's probably your most qualified NFL quarterback going into the season. Like, if you look at how the season ended, what's coming back next year, he's above the Carson Becks. He's above Mateer, who's coming to Oklahoma, and is going to be a curve for him, adjustment curve for him. You look at somebody that has it set up to be successful from week one all the way to the gauntlet of your schedule is Garrett Nussmeier. He did it this year. He did it last year at times when he had to take snaps. So I think he's the guy right now that's in the front runner. What's up, Zach? How you feeling? So we got I say the list starts here, man. Garrett Nussmeier is definitely top 5. We talk about the young man, and I'm not going to put Nico up there. I think he's just a interesting one to watch. That if he's not top 5, he's right there on the outside looking in. We talked about Sam Levitt. We said other names, but Sam Levitt is the one that I believe proven right now coming back is one of your top 5s. You know, sure. And there's questions around all of these candidates that we're putting in, like, how does he operate without Scatterboo at running back, taking a lot of the pressure off of him, right? So that's an interesting conversation. But the body of work, it matches also. The stats are there, not high in turnover rate, you know. Touchdown to interception rate is right where you want it. And coming into his second full year, or is this his second full year as a starter, or is it third for Sam Levitt?
This is I think he started at Michigan State the year before. I'm not sure. I'm not positive, but it feels like he did.
Yeah. So I mean, they coming in with a lot of quality experience. You look at that Garrett Nussmeier, you look at Sam Levitt. These are guys that are coming in with a lot of quality experience.
No.
And you don't disregard some of the things that they've been through as far as quality tested and competition. One guy in the SEC, Scatterboo in the CFP playoff expansion, going toe-to-toe with a team like Texas. And, I mean, they handle business. Let
me ask you a question there, though. Since you brought up Texas, do you believe in the Arch Manning hype?
I do. I don't think he's the best quarterback coming into this season, but I do believe in the hype. I think as long as there's a solid offensive line around him, and solid offensive lines in today's era of college football is, if I can get 3 solid guys and one guy that's going to be okay, I could work around. A great quarterback can work around having a one spot weakness in the offensive line. And Archie Manning, I think he's going to have to do that early in the season with Texas. A lot of their games on the road this season too. A lot of their big games on the road this season too. So yeah, I believe the hype skill set wise, he's there. How it carries over to wins and losses. Like I said this earlier, I don't think you weigh a quarterback skill level on wins and losses. What he does in those wins and losses. Now, I don't think Archie Manning will be the reason why Texas takes a lot of defeats, a few of the games they're going to lose next year. I don't think he's going to be the reason why.
You don't think he's going to be the reason why? I think that, if anything, the problem with Arch for me is that they're replacing 4 of their 5 linemen, and it matters. I don't care what you say, it matters. They talked about that a lot with Oklahoma. We saw that they with all the injuries and things like that happened with OU, it certainly mattered whenever your O-line wasn't up to speed. I think this is the same thing that's going to happen there. Do I think that he's good? Absolutely, I think he's good. I think that Arch, there's a reason why. I mean, it's not just because his name is Manning. It's because he has the tools that the Mannings have. You know what I mean? So I would say that before I say anything else. Do I think he wins the Heisman like Bevo's bodyguard says? Hell
no. And you know what? I don't think he wins the Heisman only because I think next year the Heisman is going to be another skill position award. You get what I'm saying? Outside of the quarterback room, I really do. Yeah. I see you see the game changing to make it more exciting for the wide receiver, the running back, the defensive back. Like Travis Hunter winning the Heisman this year, we won't see another dual side, like both sides of the ball player do it like that. But I guarantee you, wide receivers will start to get a lot more of a nod for most valuable player with this being a space game. You got wide receivers literally being game changers from multiple positions on the field, running back, wide receiver, lining up at the quarterback position. You know, it's just a different level and a different style of game that's being played. It's going to be hard to see the quarterback position continue to dominate the Heisman voting. But like I said, Arch Manning, I believe the hype. Does it transfer into a 10-2 regular season for Texas next season? No, I don't think so. Too many pieces. But does he play good enough to keep his name relevant in a lot of your quarterback talks and the powers to be of college football, where Texas will be? Will he be the reason a lot of Texas success comes next year? Yes, I do believe that, and it's because he's really what do you bring back like concrete that you can depend on, right, other than Archie Manning on that side of the ball.
Listen, they do have they have a good receiving core that's going to be coming back as far as that goes. They've got some players,
talent. They have unproven talent everywhere.
Should be even stronger next year because they should be getting some of those guys back that they lost to injury this year too. I think that the biggest problem is, okay, what's going to happen on that offensive line? Is that defense going to be as good? They are losing a lot of guys to the draft. Second year in a row, losing a lot of guys to the draft. You can't just reload there. And you can't reload anywhere whenever you're losing that many guys back to back.
So the question is, Jason, is he in our top 5? We got Garrett Nussmeier. I think we're good with Sam Levitt being in our top 5. I don't think Archie Manning is in my top 5. Top 10 maybe, but not top 5.
He's not in my top 5. No, I don't think he'd be in my top 5. He's going to be up there. I don't think he's too far away.
6-7 for me.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, definitely. Who is your top 5? Let's just give out your top 5. Who do you like?
Okay, in no particular order, and I'm gonna just kind of go with my gut feeling here. Like I said, I like Garrett Nussmeier coming in as a top 5 QB. I like Sam Levitt. I like DJ Lagway breaking through with Florida. I really think Billy Napier is on to something in that offensive side of the ball together. They've always had athletes on the offensive side. I like DJ Lagway in that top 5. Let me go out to the West Coast and put my boy. I'm struggling with this because I like what Cole Klubnik was showing at Clemson, but I don't think Clemson is going to turn a curve and really dial into making him a feature for their offense. I think he has the skill set, but I don't think they're going to. And it's just a Dabo Sweeney mindset thing that I believe if he's not having a Deshaun Watson or a Trevor Lawrence, he's not going to allow it to really be an offensive centric team. You get what I'm saying? So that's what will make me. But people are going to laugh when I say this. I like Miller Moss going to Louisville, and that high speed, high rate offense is not necessarily air raid, but Miller Moss going to Louisville, and I forget the OG coach's name. His son is there. What's his name?
Man, if you hadn't asked, I'd have it. Yeah,
right. It's there. It's there. Petrino.
No, it's not Petrino.
It's not Petrino?
No, it's damn it, he was at Purdue. He's a damn good coach. A damn good coach. So
not Petrino. He's running this Petrino system, y'all. I can't. But anyways, the Miller Moss from USC. I like him going to Louisville. I think the stats will show like he will be top 5. They're going to spread that ball around. You look at the transfer wide receivers. he is going to be a name that's going to be like, are y'all looking over here? And he will have a year. Miller Moss will have a year that's going to be top 5 quarterback. And then
Jeff Brom is who you're thinking of, and Jeff Brom is one of the best offensive minds.
Right there. Yes, Jeff Brom, because he took that the Petrino offensive the scheme and literally has just made it the space RPO we want to see in today's game. He's made it the space RPO, and he's not throwing it 40 yards down the field every play. It's literally you got crosses everywhere. And you take a guy like Miller Moss, who's probably not had the best protection at USC. Let's be for real. He's probably not had the best offensive line. You look at his skill set, he's going to be in the top 5. And then number 5 for me, you can throw a guy a healthy Eli Holston. I think you could throw a healthy Eli Holston. I think the injury really messed up his season. You put John Mateer right there, number 5. Guys like that. Nico, who's going to be, like I said, third year under Heupel. I think if I take those 3 names right there, I think Nico has the chance to really turn the curve, and it won't result in a lot of wins. Like Professor said earlier, I don't think it'll result in a lot of wins, but Nico's going to be like, we're going to look at him and be like, okay, this is the hype. This is what the hype was about. I think this year it turns on for him. So those are my top 5.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to put Miller Moss in the top 5. But I'm with you on.
That's my dark horse top 5.
Yeah, Garrett Nussmeier. I believe he's probably coming in. You have to expect that he's going to get some stuff done there. I also like Mateer to be a top 5 guy as well. We'll get right with you there. I'll have you right in, Professor. And then Sam Levitt as well, and DJ Lagway. But I'm going to tell you somebody that we haven't talked about in here, but he goes with a guy that does really well with quarterbacks, and they were much better with him. Jaden Maivia at USC. I think that he's got an opportunity. He's a stud. He can play. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball, and he's going to fit Lincoln Riley's system. I kind of hate picking a Lincoln Riley quarterback. I do, but I'm going to tell you, I think he's right there.
Yeah, and you also look at it situation. Lincoln Riley getting another semi-developed quarterback. It's I don't know, man. I just feel like Miller Moss was handicapped. Like we've been seeing, and I think me and you have been saying this for a while now. I think Miller Moss has been handicapped by a lot of oh, there you go. I see you working. He was handicapped by Lincoln Riley and this offense. They just didn't have an offensive line to really go along with what he wanted to do. But in games where they were just clicking, man, it's like he looked like a top 5 quarterback. So I like Miller Moss as a dark horse. I look at the body of work and not the strongest arm, but he can have I want to say Bo Nix type success going into this year. I look at I know somebody in the chat was talking about Diego, my fault. Somebody was in the chat talking about Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. I don't think he has as much success next year, being that he's known now. Like we see it all the time in pro and amateur athletics. Somebody comes on the scene and surprises everybody year 1, right? Johnny Manziel. And then you turn around, he wins the Heisman that first year, surprises everybody. Then next year, he has 1 or 3 games, where he just dominates. Then when he's playing against quality competition, quality coaching, he's a no-show. He's riding the hype from last year, So I think that's what happens with Diego coming into this year. It's a quality guy, but next level quarterback, just don't see it being like a thing for him next year. And it's being like he's going to make plays. He's going to be exciting to watch, of course, but I just don't see him being a top 5 quarterback next year. He'll be in that 11, 12 quarterback, top 15 rank maybe, but not top 5, top 10.
Okay. Professor, do you have a top 5 for us?
Yeah, I not in any specific order. I'm just going to run with, kind of the guys that we talked about. I'm going to go ahead, throw the Arizona State quarterback definitely in there. They're getting their best pass catcher back. That kid's a stud. They don't play in a league with elite defenses. And I know you were talking USC. I'm going to tell you what happened. I think USC kind of ran into the buzzsaw of Big Ten football. I think it's worked in the past with other defenses. I don't think the scheme that they're trying to run necessarily is really going to work in the Big Ten.
That's that handcuff that I was talking about with Miller Moss. I feel like they really took away from him. So I like that. I like that point.
Okay.
What do we think? What do we think Jackson Arnold is going to do? I know you talk about a guy that had, like, you see glimpses of it, just couldn't get it figured out. I mean, and I know the quarterback coaching there at Oklahoma was not great this last year. Do we think he can make a resurgence and maybe save his career?
No.
You don't think so at all?
No, I don't. I got to tell you, I watched the guy with nobody in the backfield kicking the ball off of his knee in times that all they got to do is just protect it at that moment. I watched him do it all year long. I'm a believer that I'm one of those guys that I believe that either you got it or you don't got it. And when I'm saying that, I'm talking about up here in the head. Making mistakes is one thing, but there's a totally different deal whenever nobody's around you for you to turn the ball over, throw the ball away. And we've seen him do that more times than not. I think it was clear he didn't want to compete. I think he was looking over his shoulder from day one that Michael Hawkins even got there. And I just don't think he was that dude. And I don't think that there's a lot of guys that either you are or you're not. To me, an Oklahoma quarterback that is that guy is the one that when the pocket breaks down, you get better. We didn't see that out of Jackson Arnold. And I tell you one thing, if you got Hugh Freeze over there screaming at him the way that he was screaming at his quarterback last season, he's going to go into a shell without a doubt. I don't know what just happened with the professor, but what do you think about him? Do you believe that he's got a chance to be good?
I really think Jackson Arnold is he's in a bad situation going to Auburn. There's so much talent, young talent, wide receivers there. There's, the running back room looks nice, but who's going to block for him? But the thing going for Jackson Arnold, if anybody's going to pull something out of they and really do some, it's definitely going to be Hugh Freeze. Like if somebody's going to surprise college football and be 8-1 going into week 10 or week 11 of the college football season with a guy who has as much talent, and I hate to say this, being who I am and what I'm about and what is in my blood, right, Jason? You know I'm sick right now.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold might look like a top 5 quarterback next season under Hugh Freeze. There's a lot of wide receivers in that room that I personally know, and there's some dogs, man. And when I say these young boys, they're excited about having Arnold at Auburn. It can be a blessing or a bust type year for Auburn and this offense.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, they have wide receivers of guys that I'm super high on that haven't even really played. Bryce Kane is Kadarius Toney 2.0. Malcolm Simmons is an absolute stud from the Freeze 4 wide receiver class, and then they go and do it again. I mean, they are getting the best talent in Alabama right now.
They are.
You go look at the recruiting classes 2 years in a row.
I get it.
At some point, it's going to come to a tipping point. Hugh Freeze is going to make it work at Auburn, and they're going to go absolutely crazy, and nobody's going to know what hit them except for the guys that follow recruiting. Or 2, he's going to get fired, and all that talent's going to leave in the portal.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I really believe that's where Auburn is, and I think Arnold might be in the wrong time for that. You get what I'm saying? I don't think Arnold handles, like Jason said, I don't think he handles the pressure of that hard coaching. I don't think he handles it very well. Even back in his high school days, man, it was like he had a staff that really catered to him. He really did, and that's not a bad thing until you get to a space.
Man, that's the whole point I'm making.
That's not a bad thing until you get to a space where you need to really check a quarterback's reality. Like, no, it's not okay. You're going to hit the bench if you don't fix this. And Hugh Freeze is not going to hold that back from him. He's not going to do that. He's not going to play around. He's not going to, what they call it, play the radio. My intel says if Arnold struggles in the spring, there will be a lot of questions going into the fall. I don't think he handles it very well. Auburn is on the road a lot again this season, right? In a lot of big games. As a matter of fact, 2 of their big games, they actually get to have them at home. Arnold against Georgia at home. I think they actually have Georgia at home this year at Jordan Hare. That'll be a telltale to what he's going to look like as far as pressure. I don't think Georgia's going to be good. Just the pressure behind the game.
I got something for you real quick on that. His first game in the SEC is in Norman against that defense that knows that they're going to get after his ass. He is on the menu for Oklahoma. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree with you about Hugh Freeze and scheming and the guys that they got coming in there. But I'm going to tell you this. These guys are licking their chops about getting after this guy. And for him to come into a situation, he's going to get booed. There's going to be a lot of things that aren't going to go his way right away. I don't know that he makes it out of that game if he is the starting quarterback coming in. That's if he is. But I would just tell you, I think that's going to have. You'll know a lot about him after that game, no doubt about it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that Jackson Arnold's never had a plethora of Ferraris to throw to, and that's what they have. And I'm going to say this. I don't think the one game is really going to be. I understand the spring. I think he's going to light up in the spring. I think they're going to cater to him. They're going to get him. I mean, listen. With Jackson, you gotta kind of make sure everything's on the up and up and his ego and everything. I think the kid can go out and absolutely sling it. He's done it. It's just can he get over some of the dumb mistakes? But you got to understand the kid didn't have a lot of starting reps. We talk about that. It was like him being a true freshman.
They were talking about him though in the spring, in the close practices and stuff like that he was not handling well. Having a quarterback competition was part of it. He was looking over his shoulder early. I think when guys look over their shoulder, that's a lot to get over with no matter what. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm saying that it doesn't happen very often. That's all I'm going to tell you. Either you've got it up there or you don't have it up there. And sometimes I don't think he had it up there. I'm just telling you, I don't think he did.
We thought the same thing about Bo Nix.
Completely wrong. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Bo Nix came in and played well.
He played very good.
He went to Oregon.
Yeah, and I think Bo Nix don't get enough credit for what he actually did while he was at Auburn in the SEC during a time where, I mean, they weren't winning in recruiting, man. They weren't winning in, I mean, the portal was the thing that had just got there the year he left. So I for Bo Nix, I mean, didn't have a system that really catered to him either. Like, I mean, they played for him. They played the system for him, but it didn't cater to him or his skill sets. And you saw what happened. But Arnold steps into this situation, like I said, and Jason said something, bro. If he's the starter, because there's a lot of talking heads at Auburn that believe Deuce Knight might have a realistic. There's this quarterback class.
Talking about freshmen at other places. Why not there?
Right, 25 class of quarterbacks. There may be 4 or 5 guys right now in this 25 class that are on campus now or going to be on campus in the fall. These staffs and these coordinators and analysts around these young men, they believe you only need 12 to 15 practices to get a guy like him ready to go into week 1 against Baylor or South Alabama. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's people, and you can get some real trajectory and evaluation done in those first 6 weeks of a quarterback on campus, dialed in with the new practice schedule and the amount of time that they get to spend in the facilities. Man, it can be crazy good starting the season off for a transition year. I think Auburn's in their true transition year. This is the year to see where their bottom is. And if a guy like Deuce Knight comes in and has any type of success early on, Jackson Arnold might not even be at the helm with his inconsistencies and inability to handle pressure. So,
and that's what I'm saying. It turns into a real competition. He's that's what I'm saying. Can he get over it and go out there and actually compete? Because when he heard guys like, Gabe Eichert talking about that Michael Hawkins looked better than Caleb Williams at that point in the springtime. He was hearing everything. This is a guy that hears everything. He's got rabbit ears about that stuff. He pays attention to what he sees on social media, even though he thinks he doesn't. He says he doesn't. I mean, I'm just telling you. I would just tell you that I don't know, man. I don't see it, man. I don't see it. I say absolutely not. I wouldn't even have him in my top 25.
Jackson Arnold's definitely gonna be top 15, bro. Like let's not. I mean, too many weapons out there. He literally has to crap
weapons.
He has to crap the bed and not be on the field.
He just got done saying he may not even be on the field.
That's what I'm saying. If he's on the field, if he's on the field, he's going to be top 15.
Yeah.
If he does not crap the bed, I mean, literally all he has to do is not throw turnover. He has weapons. Like Jackson Arnold has 2 or 3 receivers right now at Auburn that turn a 3-yard slant or a 3-yard zig route into a freaking home run hit. You know, that's the type of skill sets he had. And in the running back room, we know Hugh Freeze wants to get the perimeter run game established, man. And he wants to stretch defenses left and right. A guy like Jackson Arnold that could really hurt you with his legs. You saw what he did to us in the Oklahoma game, the Alabama-Oklahoma game in Norman. You get him in a big game against Georgia at home, against Alabama at home, and get his momentum going, get his confidence going like Hugh Freeze.
10 times in that game is why he
Hey, when it's working and you're able to use it, I feel like Hugh Freeze could have set Jackson up in better passing situations than
before that, though. I'm just going to tell you about the week before that when they're at Missouri in Columbia. They have the lead with 2 minutes left, and earlier in the game too, Deion Burks is screaming at him to throw the effing football down the field, and he was like shaking his head no on the sidelines. They were showing it. Then 2 minutes left, you got a lead. Nobody's even about to tackle him, and he just throws the fucking ball away on a fumble that gets scooped and scored, and there we are with the tie.
But you helping my point. You helped my point. He played great at home. He played great at home and played horrible on the road.
He had no quarterback coach either. I mean, it's development.
That's a fact too. You're right.
I'm going to say this. You got Baylor, Ball State, and South Alabama before Oklahoma. We'll know. We'll know by then. We'll know by the Oklahoma game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Temple. Never mind. I'm going to leave it. All right. So there, he's in your 5 then? He's in your top 5?
No, he's just a dark horse I'm going to watch for sure. I think.
Yeah, his Jackson Arnold is kind of like my Miller Moss. He's that dark horse that it could
mine was Jaden Maivia. He'd be like that guy that, could be there. Who give us your 5 again there, Cody?
I got the Arizona State kid. I got the LSU kid. Obviously, DJ Lagway.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mateer. And then I think, I hate to say it. Unfortunately, as long as it is, we'll know early spring. I think Carson Beck could have a resurgence at Miami. I think they're going to scheme the offense around him, but we don't know about the injury. So don't hold my feet to the fire.
What did you say? I found that offensive, sir.
Hey, so like we had dark horses, Jason. Well, Jason, where's your top 5? Give us your top 5.
My top 5 is pretty much it's Garrett Nussmeier, John Mateer, Lenore. No. I have Jaden Maivia, Levitt, and DJ Lagway.
Okay, so and these are names that you look at on 3. They have them like 6, 8. I think Lagway made top 5 on 3. Yeah, he made number 3. Levitt is number 1 on 3. So there's something there. I think the question amongst us is without Scatterboo, right? What does that look like? How does he return? Big catcher coming back. You got a lot of your receiver production. Maybe not the big numbers, but a lot of your production is coming back. So I think Levitt's in a good position. Dark horses, I've heard Carson Beck. I said Miller Moss. We all believe Arch Manning is right there on the outside. Top 5, right there, 6, 7 looking in. No bias, all the disrespect for Texas fans aside.
I like Arch. I gotta wait to spring. I gotta see it. I gotta see all of it, right?
Bro, he won the Elite 11 and we keep talking about he had no QB coach. What does that have to do with
Elite 11 is nothing?
Elite 11 doesn't have anybody running at him and trying to breathe down his neck.
Right. Like nobody plays 7-on-7 2-hand touch in the college football level. Like that doesn't win games. That's an evaluation platform for us to look at the mechanics, consistency, small things that let you know, okay, that's a quarterback. Not that's a quarterback that can go into this system and understand it and win games. That's not what the Elite 11 does. They come together, they put a variety of different concepts and things together and see how guys interpret it. And you don't have to interpret it for 80 or 60 to 70 plays consecutively. You're going to get 24 to 40 reps in the day's work in those camps. So, yeah, stop with that.
I think there's always a kid that we're not talking about that's gonna, pop up. A kid that maybe has been sitting there waiting his turn at a program that we it could be the Kansas State kid could figure it out.
Hey.
Avery, right? I think his name is
Avery
that
Johnson.
That kid could really figure it out.
He would definitely be right around the top of that list as well for me. I like it.
But you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You just look at the consistency around him, though. The culture around him. You expect a kid like Avery Johnson he's going into his third year as a starter there. He didn't start all his freshman year, but when he came in, that's when you saw Kansas State turn the curve. They turned the corner. He got injured that freshman, and then he come back this year, and you see how they started out, and they kind of just peaked. I feel like a lot of teams just peaked. You get the offseason to work on those small things that he was missing, right, as a young starter. Coming to this third year, Avery Johnson is right there. Another name I want to throw at you guys that I'm excited about him only because he ended last season on a high note, and that's going to be the kid over at TCU that just got to TCU, Josh Hoover. Mm-hmm. I think TCU has an opportunity to resurge their offense this year. Is he a top 10 dark horse that might slide into 6, 7, 8? TCU has weapons. They just didn't have a quarterback last year, a consistent quarterback play. And then again, I think Eli Holston coming back to Pitt might be something interesting to keep our eyes on. He started off very strong, was top 3 quarterback through week 7, right? Then just fell off after that. So would love to see what that turns into. We haven't said Drew Aller over at Penn State. What's you all's feels around there, guys?
I just don't think he has weapons.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Drew Aller. I think he's got a big arm. I think he's an NFL type quarterback. I don't, and I'll tell you what, I like Andy Kotelnicki as much as I like anybody as far as coordinators are concerned too. He looked better. I mean, but you can't judge them getting to the semifinals so much because they played SMU and freaking Boise State. So I don't know what you have there. Unless they add somebody on the outside that's going to be a big time threat. They lost that tight end. And I mean, that guy was a straight dog.
They lost their whole offense. I think they got a couple running backs coming back that are NFL caliber backs, but it's just like he's gonna have really nobody to throw to that we know of.
Right. I have a hard time believing that he's gonna really get there because you've got to have dynamic receivers, and they don't get them at Penn State for whatever reason. They haven't been getting them. So, I mean, you're the recruiting guy, you know it. I haven't seen it at all. I will say that love the Avery Johnson bring out. They've got some players there. He's in his second year, and with a really good a guy that's a hell of a coordinator there as well. I like Avery Johnson to be in the mix for a lot of awards at the end of the season. He's a hell of a football player.
As long as he stays healthy, man. Same thing. No, and like I said, I think DJ Lagway is right there at the top, but Avery Johnson gives you that same type of feel for Kansas State. Not necessarily DJ Lagway skill set or anything. I don't want anybody to confuse that, but just the feel.
Dante Moore would be another one I would ask you a question about. Go ahead.
Oregon?
Yep.
Oregon. I just don't trust what on the other side of the ball, what it does for him.
But Will Stein has had 2 guys as finalists the last 2 years.
They got the best wide receiver coming in too, true freshman, Decorium Moore, and we saw what he did against in the All-American game. I'm gonna say this: my biggest thing with Dante Moore is he's gonna be prosperous in that Will Stein offense. My biggest question is with him is when the lights turn on, can he do it? When it's all on him, is he going to be able to do it? They got weapons, just like Auburn, all over the place. They recruit extremely well. The offense caters to, it's a lot of dink and dunk, But and I'm high on Dante Moore, but again, it's a guy I'm gonna have to watch the spring game and see it. There's a lot of guys. Arch Manning gonna have to watch the spring game. Dylan Raiola gonna have to watch the spring game. I think Dylan Raiola's biggest problem is he again runs himself into pressure. These kids,
yes,
they think that they can do this at Big Ten and SEC level, and they just can't. I'm all about. So you look at a guy like Jaden Daniels at LSU. He did not run side to side. When the pocket opened and all the wide receivers were covered,
Boom.
he slashed. That's called slashing. That's not running around trying to be Patty Mahomes or whoever. There's a big difference. That's taking what's available to you, and then he was athletic enough to do the extra stuff, right? I don't know if Dylan Raiola, I see the arm talent, I see everything. I don't know if he's going to be developed in a way at Nebraska and him not having to be Superman all the time to where he's actually going to put together game after game after game after game. It's my only question with Raiola.
And that's a lot of that is what's around him, like you said, man. And like I think it traditionally at Nebraska, you saw them want to lean on the run game, but that's a phase that you have to supplement your run game with like a 65-70% pass game. Like that's where the game of college football is in order to really keep up, because defense on the field, they're running left and right, 67 plays. That's not going to put you in good position. You got to be able to spread. And Raiola has those skill sets, but Nebraska is not one of those schools that's able to pull in the elites that's going to highlight those. So you have to kind of dumb it down and simplify it and keep it in the box. That's going to be his thing. Can he be good enough without being a superhero? Can he be great to allow that offense to be? And I think that's what Mac Jones did. You know, when he finally became a starter, you had all those weapons around you. He just did the simple stuff at a high rate so good that people gave Mac Jones more credit than what he really deserved. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really had everything you needed around you, and you just didn't have to mess it up. You just had to keep the car on the road.
Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask, another one, was just like that.